Hi guys, Paul here. So, like most kids, I loved dinosaurs, and I've always had a thing for dinosaurs, and a lot of people it sticks with, and a lot of people love dinosaurs their entire life. And in fact, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer, and I kept that love like well into the '90s and worked on it. But my first thing I ever wrote when I was in grade school in the '70s was a story about dinosaur bones in a museum breaking out and attacking the city. The imagination gets fueled by the thoughts of dinosaurs, and it does that. It fires creativity for people to this day. So I don't get to talk about dinosaurs a lot, and so Saturday night I sat down and watched a dinosaur double feature, and I thought that it might work for the channel. Now this segment was not supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be like me watching back catalog movies on like Plex or whatever, bad B movies that could be fun to talk about, or great old movies that have been forgotten, kind of like as a compliment to my channel. So this is a little different, and I'm probably not going to do a lot of this, but I think dinosaurs and the fact that these are tangential to actual books might make it okay this one time, right? So yeah, Saturday night I did watch a dinosaur double feature. I don't get to spend a lot of time watching TV or movies. I'm trying to increase that by doing this segment, get through some of my back catalog of stuff I want to see. And so I got to watch Jurassic World Rebirth and Primitive War. Now, Jurassic World Rebirth is based on, of course, Michael Crichton's books, Jurassic Park and The Lost World. Distantly related. There's no book directly off of this. And Primitive War is based off of Ethan Pettis's novel, Primitive War. And I had done a review for that on my first Ink and Ammo, and you can check that out if you want to know more about the book. But in this case, I want to talk about the book, the movies, and how they relate to books in some cases. So I'll start with Rebirth. Now, the Jurassic Park movies, the first one was fantastic. It's one of the greatest, science fiction movies and books ever written. I still love the book. It's one of my favorite sci-fi books ever. And the first movie was great, and then it kind of fell off. And there was a couple later on recently that I thought were fun and worth watching, and I enjoyed, and even bought the DVDs of. And so I was kind of looking forward to see what happens with this kind of relaunch, soft relaunch, as they tried something new. And in this case, the story revolved around a sleazy guy who's working for a pharmaceutical company, and he wants to gather blood samples from three specific dinosaurs in order to create a heart medicine that they can make trillions of dollars off of. And he goes to Scarlett Johansson's character Zora, and she's apparently some kind of mercenary with a team who goes into, hot spots and does things for money. And she refuses him at first, and then the money comes rolling in with how much he was going to pay her, and of course she changes her mind, because money will do that. And so they head off with her team to go to the closed facility where dinosaurs are still roaming loose around the equator. And along the way, as they're heading that way, you meet a family who's making a vacation, a one last ditch effort to hang out together. A man and his two daughters and the oldest daughter's boyfriend, as they're trying to bond one last time before the daughter goes off to college. And they are attacked by dinosaurs, and well, I should say they are attacked by a dinosaur and dumped in the water and send out a mayday. And so Scarlett Johansson's crew has this big debate and ends up going to rescue them. And along the way, they are able to find one of the dinosaurs they're looking for. Apparently, they have all these dinosaurs they need tracked by some kind of satellite. So they're following them and they know what they're looking for. And that's all kind of neat and clean in how they set it up. So they head to this island, but as they're getting there, they're all attacked by dinosaurs. And of course, they're stranded on this island and they're still going to go ahead with the mission. And then you have the mercenary group and you have the family group who are together. And I gotta say, Scarlett Johansson as Zora, I felt like she was completely phoning this in. like she was just taking a paycheck, similar to the character she played. So maybe it worked after all. I don't know, but that story, which would normally have been something I preferred, would have been up my alley. It just did not work. It felt very, very flat. You had generic characters. You had the generic slimy bad guy, all about the money with the suitcase of product. It just felt cheap. And the family aspect, though, actually worked for me. I enjoyed that aspect a lot more, which is really weird for me because I normally hate that stuff. Um, it's just this time I thought that was the best part of it. Now you're here for the dinosaurs, and but you need a bone to hang that meat on. So you need a story, and so I'm talking about in this case the story that the dinosaur CGI, the dinosaur attacks hang on. So yeah, the family aspect actually was nice and it was enjoyable, whereas the mercenary part was really fell flat. The dinosaur attacks at the beginning was a lot of fun. It was very exciting and very from what you'd expect from a Jurassic Park movie. But as you went on, I started to feel a little less excited about it. There's kind of forced scenes that I just did not enjoy. One of the dinosaurs they were after was this Titanosaurus, and there's this scene when you meet him that's like romantic dinosaurs, and you're supposed to get that feeling you had when the music swelled and you first saw the brontosauruses crossing Jurassic Park, with the Grant and the crew, and it did not work. First off, it actually doesn't look as good as it did in the first movie, and second, it just felt really, really forced. It's like, oh, look, romantic dinosaurs, and it's got some cuteness to it, but you can see they were trying to manipulate your emotions here. They overstayed the scene. It really didn't play in Peoria, as they say, because it felt very forced. And so you went through this island as they were getting attacked by dinosaurs, and people would be killed off, and the family was fighting for their lives and trying to do their thing. And like I said, that's the better part of the story. And then they get to the facility, and there's some exciting scenes in there, but it still just was not as good as you'd want it to be for a Jurassic Park movie. And then you come across the mutant dinosaur, the MacGuffin in the machine here, and I just think the thing's ugly. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And in the whole thing, you get your happily ever after ending as they leave, and the what if scenes, etc. And overall, I was extremely disappointed because I thought the franchise had been getting a little better previous to this. The Lost World, the Jurassic World movies before that with Chris Pratt were actually kind of enjoyable. So I thought it was maybe on an upturn. This was a cash grab. It felt like they phoned it in. I didn't have fun. I didn't enjoy it. Except for, there's a couple scenes. Of course, there's a couple of scenes you're going to like. It's dinosaurs, right? But it didn't do what I wanted it to do. It didn't do what I expected for a huge Hollywood blockbuster that was supposed to be, holding up the tent for a summer movie. And I'd say if you want to watch it for free. Watch it on streaming. Don't buy it. Don't pay for it. Otherwise, you might be disappointed. Unless you're a hardcore collector or fan. Yeah. It was a miss. Which brings me to Primitive War. Now, like I said, I did a review of the book, and I loved the book. And if you want to know more, check out the review, because I'm not going to go over the whole thing here, because it's about the movies. This movie was directed by somebody I'd never heard of by the name of Luke Spark, with an E at the end. And I went and looked him up, and he did a bunch of movies I had never heard of, which did not bode well for me. And what else did not bode well is this movie came out this year, and it was gone in a minute and already available streaming, etc., or pay-per-view in like literal weeks. And that worried me, and rightfully so. I thought this was going to be a blockbuster type movie. I thought they were going to put some effort behind it. Instead, the cast was all right. I mean, they did their job best they could with what they had, but I blame the director for the failures here. Now, I want to say, I got to give him credit for some things, because not only did he direct it, but he wrote it. And when you make a movie based on a book, you got to make some hard decisions. You have to make cuts. There's no way around it. You cannot fit a book complete in its entirety into a 2 hour movie and as is. It's just almost impossible to do. And so he took a sword to the middle of the movie. He cut out this huge section and pasted them together, and it worked in what he wanted to do. I mean, he made the best of a situation there. He had to cut stuff out, and he kind of took two sections of the movie and cut out the middle and put them together, leaving out what had happened in between, and it worked. It worked in the movie. I get why he did it. I'm not mad about that. Although you're missing out on some good scenes, and that also explained why they had made the Russian scientist character into a female played by Trisha Helfer from Battlestar Galactica. It made sense in this aspect because the only other female character in the whole movie was in the scenes he had cut out. So you kind of had to have a woman in there. I'm not mad about it. I was a little bit upset because the character is so gritty and dirty, and I didn't want to see her play that part because it was kind of icky, his character, and I didn't want to see a woman playing that because I felt that it was kind of degrading and icky. And I like Trisha Heffler. I can't say her name. I'm sorry. I'm so bad with names. Everybody's getting to know this, but so I didn't want to see her in that position, see her in that light. Do you know what I mean? So, but in the end, it didn't bother me, and I'd rather see her in it than not. So it worked. You couldn't have a kill in the movie without at least one female character in it, other than the dinosaur. The way he wrote it, the way he cut it up, and the way he wrote the movie, I'm not mad about that. I see what he did, and he made the best of a situation. My problem is with his directorial choices, and with the fact that I didn't expect this to be a B movie. I expected this to be like a lot of money behind a blockbuster, and what I got was a B movie. So I was a little disappointed. You get the generic Vietnam things. You get the helicopters flying over with the same generic music they used in the 70s, every Vietnam movie ever, The Fortunate Son and all that. You get that again. And maybe you're okay with it as far as, because you're setting a tone, but I've seen it so many times. Do something different. Do something original. It's like 100 other movies I've watched. I can only listen to the same and see the same Vietnam scenes over and over before I'm rolling my eyes. And okay, even if I could forgive that because he was trying to set a mood and he was, kind of playing on the trope. Okay. If you're okay with that, fine. It wore on me. But there became a part in the first half, and the first half was distinguishedly worse as far as shooting went. He would have the characters being stalked, and you'd have a camera stuck to them, literally like they were wearing it with a fisheye lens, and showing how terrified they were, and it just looked silly. It looked like a parody of Blair Witch Project, and I hated it. It didn't portray them as being terrified. It portrayed them in a ridiculous light. It just felt silly, and there was better ways to do that, I thought. And it got a little better as far as storytelling later, but like I said, the way they made it, you had to kind of cut it up, and so you lost some really good scenes. And the problem I had with the dinosaurs ends up being that the CGI on it went from just okay average to a couple of scenes, especially with the flying dinosaur, so we're like, oh god. Yeah, it was a couple of scenes that I was rolling my eyes at really hard. And then you get to the big final battle, and he kind of took it over the top because you had almost shot this this part of the scene was shot 300. There's a scene that reminded me exactly out of the movie 300, and some of it seemed ridiculous. So any of the issues I have directorially with how it was chose to be shot and the CGI and with the dinosaurs. Those are my biggest problems. So you have Vulture Squad, which is a recon extraction team. Their specialty is pulling out POWs that are trapped inside Vietnam. And they get called in by this colonel who's kind of this typical generic angry corrupt military U.S. military guy, and he's going to send them in to find his missing Green Beret team who went missing in a valley, and they went in looking for something top secret. And so they go in and pretty quickly, like the book, pretty quickly realize that this Green Beret team is not just missing, they're dead. The pieces of them and whatever are found, and Vulture team is pretty quickly attacked by dinosaurs. That's all cool, especially in the book. I love the way it was done. And now you have this team who's stuck there and needs extraction. But what is happening is there are Russians in the valley who have caused this. There's a Russian team with a Russian general who have this plan and are building this super collider, and that's what the Green Berets went in to try and find out. And the colonel wants it captured for his own use versus destroyed. Now, you may ask, what the hell are the Russians doing in the middle of Vietnam, teaming up with the VC, fighting Americans? Well, that's the thing. The movie doesn't really tell you. The book explained it. You had, all along, you were told what was going on and getting hints and clues, and you understood that the Russians are trying to build this super collider to create unlimited energy for the motherland and then wipe America off the map, etc. Like I said, go watch the book review and you'll get a better idea. They don't explain any of that. In fact, you don't even meet the evil Russian general until like after 2/3 of the way into the movie, so you don't know what's going on. And I think that kind of hurts the movie a little bit too, because you don't have an understanding of why there are Russians in Vietnam. And this Russian general Borodin, he's another one of your mustache twirling, prototypical psychopathic Russian bad guys, which is fine. I mean, it's okay. You're playing it over the top. I get it. It's a little eye rolling again, but if you know what if you know what they're doing, you've seen it before. And so instead of extracting, like in the book, they get extracted and go back in. They cut all that middle out. They just go directly without orders and decide they're going to destroy this super collider. So you miss a lot of stuff, but the whole trip where they're crossing dinosaur after dinosaur after dinosaur, it almost feels like a little silly, because there's no break and it's just them crossing the Serengeti kind of thing. And then you go have them set up the final battle where they're attacking the general's collider and the dinosaurs are coming in, and you got them all three meeting. And I guess in a way it's kind of a fun action scene, but again, if you're looking for Hollywood blockbuster stuff, it wasn't it. It was B movie over the top. Like I said, you had this scene that felt like it was ripped right out of the 300. You have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dinosaurs coming nonstop. You have a guy with a machete who's just swinging nonstop left and right, just taking the heads off dinosaurs like they're chickens. Yeah, I get the joke there with the dinosaurs and the chickens, but it just feels a little goofy and over the top. And through the movie, you kind of never got to know the characters really well. The book didn't spend forever giving you like background and stuff, but you knew enough about each character. They were their own individual person, and you got a feel for them. In this, they came across a little more tropey, even though in the book they kind of were, you had your archetype characters in the Vietnam unit. But in the movie, it felt even more tropey because you never got to really spend any time with them. So they had to go with, the extreme. This is, this character type. And, you kind of lose something from the book to the movie with that, because you don't ever get to feel anything for the characters while they're being eaten by the dinosaurs. And then you have the generic heroic sacrifice scenes and such. It plays out kind of like you'd expect with, the pretty tropey scenes. And it wouldn't have been so bad to me if I had gone in expecting a B movie. And I wasn't. And I should have been. I guess that's on me. But know that if you want to watch this movie, again, go in streaming. Go in, watch it for free. Go in knowing that you're not getting a Hollywood blockbuster. You're getting more of a B movie about dinosaurs and Vietnam. And the concept is fantastic. I love the concept right from the beginning. It, played on a couple of things that I enjoy learning about and watching about. And enjoyed the book so much more, though. And you may say, of course you did. It's a book. You enjoyed the book more than the movie. Well, I still expected a little more from the movie. Sorry. In any case, my advice to you is if you're going to watch it, do it streaming. Don't pay for it. Wait for it. It's unless you're a big fan and you're okay knowing it's a B movie, and then you might still like it. You know, if your expectations aren't what mine were, you still might get a kick out of it because it's not horrible on its own, but having read the book, there's a whole lot that I felt they could have done better. Okay, guys, I'm going to be doing these on very rare occasions. This isn't something that's a regular part of the channel, but if you enjoy it, feel free to watch. And thank you so much if you did. So remember, the secret to Zen: read books, pet dogs, listen to metal. Please subscribe, and I will see you later.